Hello, and thank you for stopping by. Today we're going to be doing a 2026 mock offseason for the Denver Nuggets. Now, this team is in such an interesting situation because coming off of a first round exit in the playoffs, they still have the potential to be one of the most expensive rosters in the NBA. Generally speaking, the roster has a good outlook. You have one of the top 2 to 3 best players in the world. You have a point guard who plays very well off of that player. Aaron Gordon is another piece that complements him really well. And then you even have Peyton Watson, who's a young wing who's finally coming into his own. He was having a breakout season before it ended early due to injury. He even had a stretch in January where he was the Western Conference Player of the Week. He looked really good, and he's a very good defensive player who also complements Nikola Jokic really well. Now, the issue being with Peyton Watson is he is a restricted free agent this offseason. So there are teams with cap space who can give him an offer, but the Denver Nuggets will have the opportunity to match any of those offers. Now, I do think that the Nuggets have a number that they won't cross to bring Peyton Watson back, but they're going to do everything in their power to do so. So what that means is that they're going to have to restructure this roster a little bit to save money to then be able to bring Peyton Watson back. On top of all of that, you have to make sure Nikola Jokic knows that we're still very serious about winning. There's no such thing as a gap year when one of the best players in the world is still in their prime, maybe on the second half of their prime. So we have to make sure that this roster looks like it could still compete in the West, all while trying to save some money. Lastly, one more thing that makes this offseason a little bit more difficult is the fact that they don't have much draft capital to work with. They're only working with one tradable first round pick, and it's this year's at number 25 overall. And then we're looking at a total of 3 tradable second round picks. One of them is 49 overall in this year's draft as well. So despite all of that, we're still going to try to put together a good roster heading into the 2026-2027 NBA season. So the first money-saving order of business for this offseason is going to be to waive Jonas Valanciunas, the backup center for Nikola Jokic. Now, they just traded for him last offseason from the Sacramento Kings, but he's only got $2 million guaranteed of his $10 million salary. So we're going to eat the $2 million to save $8 million and waive Jonas Valanciunas. We are going to get a Shams notification here as we are going to have another casualty of the money-saving efforts of the Denver Nuggets this offseason. So this one is bittersweet. Aaron Gordon is going to be traded to the Los Angeles Lakers in exchange for the 25th overall pick in this year's draft and a sign-and trade for Rui Hachimura. So Rui's going to start making about $16 million a year for us on a 3-year deal. But like I said, this is bittersweet. Aaron Gordon and Nikola Jokic just work so well together. They complement each other's games really well. And I think Aaron Gordon is going to do those same things for Luka in LA. And since they are a cap space team, they can just take in more money than they're sending out. So we just sent out $32 million in Aaron Gordon's contract and only received $16 million in Rui Hachimura's contract. So between the $16 million there and the $8 million of Jonas Valanciunas, we saved already $24 million and acquired a first-round pick in doing so. Our second Shams notification of this video is going to be another cap casualty hit. We are going to be trading Cam Johnson to the Boston Celtics in exchange for Sam Hauser and a couple of second-round picks. So this is another trade where we are sending out more than we are getting back. Sam Hauser is making around $11 million. Cam Johnson is making $23 million. And the Boston Celtics have a $27 million trade exception that they got from their Anthony Simons trade this season. So they're able to absorb that extra money into their trade exception. So we were at $24 million saved so far this offseason, and then we just saved $12 million just about with that last move. So now we're already at $36 million saved, and we're acquiring some draft capital as well along with that. We're going to see a couple moves made around the league before draft night here just to make sure that things feel fresh. So Giannis is going to go to the Boston Celtics in exchange for Jaylen Brown, who will then get rerouted to the Atlanta Hawks in a 3-team trade. The Minnesota Timberwolves will be acquiring Kyrie Irving from the Dallas Mavericks for Julius Randle and a first-round pick. And the Detroit Pistons will be acquiring Trey Murphy from the New Orleans Pelicans for Isaiah Stewart, Karis LeVert, and 2 first-round picks. So let's get to the NBA draft now, where our Denver Nuggets have 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks to work with. All right, so the Memphis Grizzlies are on the clock here at 16. The most interesting thing to happen so far in this draft is the Oklahoma City Thunder used 12 and 17 to move up to number 8 to select Ade Mara out of Michigan. Here at pick 16 is where the Denver Nuggets are going to get involved. So we noticed that there's a prospect that we are very interested in that has fallen a little bit in this draft due to his age. So we are going to use both of our first round picks to move up to try to take him. So we are going to give 25 and 26 to the Memphis Grizzlies for 16. Now the Memphis Grizzlies are just starting their rebuild, so maybe they're going to look to add more young players moving forward. And then on top of that, the Memphis Grizzlies just historically draft well with their first round picks. So they're going to get 2 more stabs at it, and we are going to move up, where the Denver Nuggets are going to be drafting Yaxel Lendeborg out of Michigan. Now this pick makes so much sense considering all of the things that we've done so far this offseason. Aaron Gordon was moved to the Lakers, so Yaxel Lendeborg can kind of fill that spot. I don't know if he'll start immediately, but Yaxel can do everything. On top of that, he is a really good defender, which you have to have at the forward position next to Nikola Jokic. One thing to always talk about with Yax is his age. He's going to be a 24-year-old rookie, which is why he slid all the way to 16. You know, that's a deterrent for a lot of teams. But for us, we're looking for someone who can contribute right away. So it's not a deterrent for us. So going into day 2 of the NBA draft, the New York Knicks are slated to start the first round. But we're going to get involved again. We're going to use some of those second round picks that we acquired in our Cam Johnson trade to do what the Phoenix Suns did last year. There's always a prospect that falls out of the first round that is very intriguing for other teams. Last year it was Rasheer Fleming. This year the target that we're going to move up to get is Zuby Ejiofor. So Zuby is a player that right now is gaining a lot of steam to go in the first round, but there's a lot of bigs at the end of that first round, so one of them is bound to fall. Players like Zuby Ejiofor, Terrace Reed, Henry Visar are all players that are fringe first round picks, and I don't think all of them are going in the first. So we are going to move up and select Zuby. Zuby is a high motor player. He's someone who switched out to the perimeter a lot in college, and then also protects the paint well. He has shown a willingness to shoot the ball. We'll see if that translates to the league. Well, I'm not going to project for it right now, but coming in at 31, he's going to have the chance to contribute right away to our team because we're trying to get younger. We're trying to get a little bit cheaper. So for our team options, I did accidentally just decline all of them. So Daron Holmes and Julian Strawther, I meant to bring both of them back. I'll make sure that I do that. But Spencer Jones and Jalen Pickett, we are going to decline both of their team options. I think Spencer Jones can walk. Jalen Pickett was the more difficult decision. I think he's done a good job so far in his career. But because we just brought in Zuby Ejiofor in the second round of this year's draft, we're going to let Jalen walk. The only player that we are extending the qualifying offer to is Peyton Watson. All of the cap space oriented moves that we've done to this point have led us here. So Peyton Watson is our restricted free agent that we desperately wanted to bring back. And honestly, you kind of wish you got to bring him back last offseason when this contract would have been a little bit cheaper. But this offseason, if I'm Peyton Watson, there's no way I'm looking at Christian Braun's contract and taking anything less than that. So we're going to start him at $21 million and have it ascend over time for a 4-year deal. So one last little mini Shams notification that I forgot to include was we did unload Zeke Naji to the Chicago Bulls. We gave the last of our second round picks, so right now we are down to nothing in terms of draft capital. So let's take a look at what we're working with heading into free agency. Jamal Murray at the 1, Christian Braun. Peyton Watson was brought back on his 4-year, $94 million deal. Sam Hauser, Yaxel Lendeborg, Julian Strawther, Rui Hachimura, Nikola Jokic, and Daron Holmes, along with Zuby Ejiofor, our second round pick. So at this point, because we have saved so much money off of our salaries, we do have access to our taxpayer mid-level exception. So what we're going to do is use that to get a different backup center instead of Jonas Valanciunas. We're going to get Jock Landale from the Atlanta Hawks. We're going to give him $5 million a year over 3 years. I really like Jock Landale. I think the fact that he can space the floor, he looks good when he plays limited minutes. We don't want him starting or anything like that. So luckily we do have the best center in the world. Another player who's sitting here in free agency right now is KCP. It looks like the Memphis Grizzlies had bought him out or just released him to make way for their first round picks that we sent over to them. So we are going to look to reunite him here in Denver, where he had some of the best years of his career. We're going to get him on a 1+1. At this point, we are renouncing the rights on Tim Hardaway Jr. He had an incredible year with us last year, to the point where I think he priced himself out of being brought back to us. So I did want to touch on one more of the elephant in the room kind of situations with Christian Braun. So our cap space moves were to get rid of Aaron Gordon and to get rid of Cam Johnson. Christian Braun's contract right now looks bad. I get that. And he had a bad season. He was injured and then did not perform well in the playoffs. To get rid of Christian Braun, we would have had to give more than we could get. With Cam Johnson and Aaron Gordon, we both of those deals we were able to acquire some draft capital, limited but some. With Christian Braun, I think we would have had to send draft picks out. And if you're going to do that, I think it just means that you don't believe that this player can get back to their true form. With Christian Braun, he's 25 years old. And if you look at last year, 51% from the floor, 30% from three. Every year other than that, he's been at just about league average, if not above, from three. So we're not going to sell Christian Braun at the lowest point of his career because it just wouldn't make sense for us. I think that he's going to have a bounce back season. Even if he never truly lives up to that 5-year, $125 million contract, he's just at a tough point in his career to try to sell him now. For our last roster spot, we're going to bring Bogdan Bogdanovic in on a minimum contract. His team option was declined by the Los Angeles Clippers, and so we're going to bring Nikola Jokic, a fellow Serbian, to play along with him. So that's it. That's the offseason for the Denver Nuggets. What you're looking at here is a total team salary of $208.64 million. The first apron line is at $209 million. So we were able to manipulate this kind of perfectly, where we come in right under that first apron. Now the luxury tax line is different. That's at $200.4 million. So we are still a luxury tax team. We are just under the first apron. Now the thing that can happen for us is, as long as we are under the luxury tax by the end of the season, we won't be a tax team, and we can get ourselves out of what is the repeater tax, which is something that just makes the luxury tax bill much higher for a team, and makes the roster just very expensive. If we're at the trade deadline and this team is looking good, we're not going to do anything to get out of the luxury tax. We're going to let them play into the playoffs, but if we do get there and we're not performing at a rate that you can convince yourself that you're a contender, the move is to trade Sam Hauser. He's making $10.8 million. A team could absorb that into their non-taxpayer mid-level exception, or a cap space team could absorb that money for us. We would just have to find a way to compensate them to make it worth their time, but that would get us under the luxury tax. So we gave ourselves that option, but I want to see how the season unfolds first. So setting the rotation to start the season, we have Jamal Murray at the 1, Christian Braun at the 2, Peyton Watson at the 3, Rui at the 4, and Nikola Jokic at the 5. We have Yaxel off the bench with 24 minutes, Julian Strother at 18, Sam Hauser at 18, Jock Landale at 13, and then our 10th player is going to be KCP to start the season with 11 minutes. We do have Bogdanovic, Bruce Brown, Zuby, and Day'Ron Holmes as well, who I would imagine are all going to play throughout the season. All right, so let's see how the first week of the season goes for us. All right, so we started 3-0 to start the season. I like to see that. Looks like Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic both playing really well to start the year. Peyton Watson, that's going to be one of the bigger signs of our season. If we are going to be successful, Peyton Watson is going to have to continue to grow into that role. KCP looks like he's contributing well. Sam Hauser just didn't make a shot. Yaxel, 1 of 7. Let's see how he's been doing. 7 of 10. And 4 of 14. Okay, so look, Yaxel's letting it fly. We're just going to need to see the ball going a little bit more throughout the year. All right, week 2 of the season. We only lost to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Totally reasonable. Peyton Watson looks like he's playing really well to start the year for us. Wanted to see how this one plays out, because this is just an interesting test to see how our team is performing at this point of the season. Scout advice says Jamal Murray is injured. Consider adjusting the rotation. I will. Thank you. Also, the Spurs are running away with this one against us. Their second and third quarters, and then the fourth as well. Oh, okay. So we almost came back in that one. Peyton Watson has been playing really well. I'm going to look into that Jamal Murray injury, a bruised right shoulder. One thing we didn't really do is add great point guard depth. so it could hurt us a little bit here. All right, so Bruce Brown is going to be playing half the game at 24 minutes. We did up Christian Brown's minutes a little bit, and then we also gave Bogdanovic a shift. And we'll see how that goes against the Trailblazers. Bruce Brown did all right. He filled up the stat sheet a little bit for us. Just didn't shoot the ball a lot. And then Bogdanovic, rough night for him as well. Dallas Mavericks, we lose to them as well. They're sitting at 11-5 just like us. And Cooper Flagg looks like he's just having a great year. Him and Julius Randle. So the depth that we built with our vet minimum signings is going to get tested quite a bit here to start the season. Sam Hauser, Jamal Murray, and Yaks all dealing with some injuries and are pulled from the rotation. So we're about to see Zuby get his first shift in the NBA. Bogdanovic is playing 15 minutes. Jack Landale and then KCP are all getting extended minutes, as well as Bruce Brown being in our starting lineup playing 28 minutes a night. So let's see how we do against the Rockets. We win, and Zuby had 10 points, 2 rebounds, and a block, and shot it well from the floor. We won our back-to-back. Right now, it looks like Peyton Watson could win Most Improved Player of the Year. All right, so we just got a notification that Bruce Brown sprained his left knee. Luckily, just in time for Jamal Murray to get put back into our lineup. Looks like Zuby has been playing well, so we're going to keep him playing a shift tonight. And then trying to decide between KCP and Bogdanovic for that last spot. And I think we're just going to stick with the defense that KCP brings right now. He is shooting it a little worse from the floor than Bogdanovic, but we're going to let KCP play for a bit. We're getting close to the end of 2026 here, and we're going to do a quick check into our lineup. We're starting to get healthy again. One thing that we did do is move Yaxel into the starting lineup to have more defense around Jokic. And we did also give Bogdanovic a shift off the bench as well instead of KCP. We're going to see how that works. I'm going to use these 3 guys here, just rotated throughout the year. All right, right as I say we're about to get healthy, we get another injury. This time it's Rui, and he broke his leg. So what we're going to do with Rui out now is Yaxel's going to stay in the starting lineup. Sam Hauser's playing a bit more. Bruce Brown and Zuby are both getting a shift. Zuby is a player that I do think can play next to Jokic, but also can play at the 5 by himself as well. All right, so we are at the trade deadline at this point. We are 33-22, 4th in the Western Conference. And this is the point of the season that we talked about. If we are a team that thinks that we can contend, we have to hold on to all of our players and head into the postseason this way. And if we don't believe that we can truly contend, then we move Sam Hauser and get ourselves under the luxury tax. Now, the tricky part for us is that we do have Rui Hachimura out with a stress fracture in his leg, and then Peyton Watson is hurt as well at this point in the season. So trading Sam Hauser right now would be an insane move. So for us, we're not going to trade Sam Hauser. In the real world, it is something that the Nuggets could potentially do. Getting under the luxury tax this season for the Nuggets holds a lot of weight, and it really does help them with that repeater tax that we talked about earlier. But this isn't my money that we're spending, so I'm going to keep Sam Hauser. So we have 5 games left before the All-Star break. We're going to let Peyton Watson sit so that he can rest up and be back for the second half of our season. So we're at the contract extension deadline. Nikola Jokic is eligible for an extension. He has a player option this offseason, and we are just going to give him his full max extension for another 3 years. So we have Jokic locked up for 4 years, $260 million. And that is the only contract extension that we will get done here. And we are going to make a push for the end of the season. Nikola Jokic is dealing with a sore back at this point in the season. So we're going to let him rest it up and let Jack Landale, Zuby Ejiofor, and Daron Holmes kind of do a center by committee for a week or 2. And we are going to get Jokic back for the last 5 games of the season. All right, so to end the year, Victor Wembanyama wins MVP. Cam Boozer wins Rookie of the Year. Scoot Henderson, my boy, wins 6th Man of the Year. Victor Wembanyama, Depoy. Peyton Watson does get Most Improved Player. Okay, I love to see that. So 20 points a game, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 2.5 stocks per night, 52% from the floor, 37% from three. Very well deserved for Peyton Watson. And honestly, our season kind of depended on it. We do get Nikola Jokic on an all NBA first team. But we don't get anyone else on any all NBA teams. We did get Yaks on the all rookie second team as well. And as you can see, we are the 6th seed facing the Spurs in the first round. Not super excited for this matchup. Setting our playoff rotation, the starters are going to stay the same. Julian Strawther, Sam Hauser, Jock Landale, and Bruce Brown are coming off the bench. So we shortened our rotation a bit to 9. I could see us move KCP over Bruce Brown. We're going to play this game by game with this 9th man. Bruce Brown, KCP, and Bogdan Bogdanovic. Any one of them could take the spot. Another thing is if Wemby's just going crazy, maybe moving Zuby, who can play out on the perimeter a little bit, into the rotation could help us. So we'll see what happens here in game 1. Another interesting wrinkle to add into this is Rui is back to day. I think getting him back could be huge. He was having a good year. If he was a better free throw shooter, he would have been just about in the 50-40-90 club here. So we'll see if we can get him back into the rotation. So one thing we are going to do is move Yaxel onto Wembanyama. I don't want Jokic guarding him out on the perimeter, so we're going to put Yax there. So game 1 of the playoffs, we see the Spurs win 114-86. It does look like Yaxel did a good job against Wemby. He was 6 of 17, 1 of 6 from 3. But we just did not get much from the rest of our guys here. So Strawther didn't hit anything. Bruce Brown didn't hit anything. And let's see how we do in game 2. We take game 2. That's a really big win for us. And it looks like Yaxel is just crushing it against Wemby. 3 of 13 from the field. And then Yaxel, I mean, he's not providing much on the offensive end. But Peyton Watson, Jamal Murray, and Jokic are carrying it on that end of the floor. We are going to decrease Julian Strawther's minutes a bit. He's been cold to start the postseason. And we're going to get Sam Hauser some more of his minutes. If Strawther does continue to struggle, we'll probably just move one of those veterans on our vet minimums into the rotation. But we'll see how we do here in game 3. We win game 3. That's a classic Jokic game here. 28-point triple-double, 12 rebounds, 17 assists. Yaxel finally shot well from the floor. And Wemby at 20 points, honestly, we will take that. All right, game 4. The Spurs will take and even up the series. Wembanyama has a good, efficient game here with 26 points. Jokic is just playing out of his mind right now. We just need to see more. Julian Strawther is going to get pulled from the rotation here. We just can't really afford to have that many minutes wasted. He's just not shooting it well. So we're going to go to Bogdanovic in hopes that he can shoot it a little bit better for us. Sam Hauser at 21 minutes a night and Rui with 27. And we're going to see if we can take game 5. We do not. Okay. So Wemby starting to find his rhythm here in this series. With Jokic here, we just can't afford to have a performance like that. Of course, we lost, and it was a close game. So if he just played a little bit better, we would have had a better shot at that one. Okay, so one thing we're going to do here is start to double Wemby. So we're going to double team him on his drives and then double team him if he ever catches the ball in the post. And then hopefully here we can force a game 7 against the San Antonio Spurs. We will go ahead and simcast this one. We had a close game through 1. We have a really big second quarter here to put us up 20. All right, it looks like we are going to go ahead and force a game 7. That was a really big game for us. Rui showed up. Nikola Jokic with an 18-point triple-double. Honestly, if our role players do show up the way that they did tonight, We should win this series. We also look at Wembanyama. Our defensive adjustments against him are starting to work a little bit, but you're seeing some of the other players on the Spurs get active because of that. For game 7, I'm almost wondering if maybe we should just take our ninth man out of the rotation and play 8. So that is what we're going to do. We pulled Bogdanovich out. We gave some extra minutes to Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, Yaxel, Rui, and Sam Hauser. And we're going to see here if we can win game 7 against the San Antonio Spurs. All right, so we're up big after the first quarter. All right, so here in the third quarter, we are up double digits. It looks good so far. And barring a big comeback here, it looks like we should take game 7 against the San Antonio Spurs. And we will. We will. That's a really big win for us. Nikola Jokic, 35, 12, and 7. 32, 4, and 3 from Jamal Murray. 26, 5, and 3 from Peyton Watson. Sam Hauser had a 7 of 11 from 3 game in a game 7 for us. That's huge. And then also keeping Victor Wembanyama limited. De'Aaron Fox had a crazy game 7 along with Dylan Harper as well. But we were able to come out of that one 145 to 130. In the other series, some funky stuff happened. So Portland won their series. I love to see it. But the Clippers also beat OKC, which is a tough situation for them. Out in the East, Atlanta versus Boston. New York versus Detroit. And then we have the Minnesota Timberwolves in our second round series. To start this series, we are going to have a ninth man. We're going to have KCP play a shift just to kind of give us some additional defense against Anthony Edwards. But otherwise, our rotation is going to stay the same. So we're going to have Christian Brown on Kyrie Irving and Yaxel Lindeborg on Anthony Edwards. All right, so game 1 against the Minnesota Timberwolves, we lose 110 to 114. Looks like Anthony Edwards played well. So did Kyrie. We had a big game from Jamal Murray. We're really going to need Jokic to not only shoot the ball 6 times if we want to stand a chance in this series. And then KCP, that might have been a bad decision. We'll see after game 2 how that goes. All right, so game 2, we will win. I do think we're going to try something different with Anthony Edwards. See if maybe we put Christian Brown on him if that helps at all. Okay, so the matchup we went for with Anthony Edwards is Peyton Watson, and then we're also switching it so that we start to double team him. Anthony Edwards is the reason that they are alive in this series, so we're going to see in game 3 if those defensive adjustments will help us out. And they do. So Anthony Edwards, my goodness, we just can't stop him. All right, so we are going into game 4 here, and we will take game 4 as well. Jamal Murray is just hooping for us here. Yaxel Lindeborg had a good game, and Nikola Jokic is Nikola Jokic. To see if we can close them out, I am going to pull KCP from the lineup as well. All right, so let's see if we can close them out in 5, and we do. Oh. All right, so we are going to be facing my Portland Trailblazers here. In the East, the Atlanta Hawks, who took Jaylen Brown from the Celtics in that Giannis deal, just beat the Boston Celtics in 5. And then the Detroit Pistons also beat the NBA champion New York Knicks in 6. As much as I love my Blazers, I really don't think that this should be that much of a series. We will see in game 1, of course. Makes sense to me. So we're going to adjust our defensive matchups. I got a little too cocky there. We're going to put Christian Brown on Dame. We're going to put Yaxel on Denny. We're going to see if that makes any difference here. We're down 2-0 to the Blazers, and it's Shaedon Sharpe. Shaedon Sharpe was just unplayable in this postseason run, and he's cooking us right now. So we are shrinking the rotation, and we are going to move Peyton Watson onto Shaedon Sharpe to see if that helps us out at all here. See if we can win game 3. We lose. So right now the Trailblazers are beating us at the 3-point line. They're shooting the ball well, which is kind of funny because they are one of the worst teams at that in the league. So we basically just made it so that we are going to switch on the perimeter and try to stay tight on shooters. And we're going to see if we can beat them here. We did also increase our minutes on our starters. But here we go. Let's not get swept. Doing well here through the third. All right. All right, there we go. So we needed Jokic to be Jokic in order for us to stay hanging in the series. Yaxel also played really well. It feels a bit risky to do it now, but you almost want to get Zuby in over Jock Landale. Zuby had a really good regular season. You know what? We are gonna do it. It's a short shift, and Zuby just comes in and plays with a lot of energy. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna let him play, and hopefully it doesn't come back to bite us. All right, we got a close game so far. Looks like they're up 9 here. And they're running away with it here in the third. All right, so there are 2 minutes and 45 seconds left in the season. We're down 8. And right now we're outscoring them by 8 in the fourth. So we're going to see if maybe we can pull off this comeback to keep our season alive. All right, so it's our ball. Yaxel inbounds it to Rui. They're having Rob play against Jokic here, which is definitely the right move. They're doubling him here. Yaxel for 3. Woo! That's big. So we're down 5 here with 2.5 minutes left. Jeremy Grant for 3. Jokic with the rebound. So we're pushing in transition here, which I like to see. They got 2 guards on Jokic. You got to score on that matchup here. Dame versus Jokic. He passes out of it. Peyton Watson for 3. Woo! Okay, so we're down to 2 minutes left. Dame for 3. He misses. All right, so Yaks with the rebound. I like how this team is pushing. And we'll tie it up in transition. This is how I thought the series would be for us. Jamal just picks Dame's pocket. Look. I want the Nuggets to win this for the sake of this video. But I'm a Blazers fan, so watching this team cook like this is kind of nice. Peyton Watson. My goodness. The Blazers have gone ice cold. I would have liked to see them slow it down a bit more there. .27 seconds left on the clock. Drew with the midi. He misses. And this should be a win. They're going to start fouling. All right, so we did force a game 6 here back in Denver. It's a pretty close game here into the fourth quarter. Trying not to let our season end, but they're having a good fourth. So we're down 7 with 1.5 minutes left. Let's see if we can come back a little bit here. So we're down 2 with 41 seconds. Let's watch. All right, so down 2, the Blazers ball. Dame. Oof, that would have been a dagger. All right, so Jamal. Jokic gets to the cup, gets it blocked. So we're going to call a timeout and see if we can get one good play drawn up to save our season here against the Blazers. Peyton Watson for three. Bang! All right, Dame, this is what he does. He's going to settle for a midi here. Oh, no. Oh, no. That's Dame time. Our season ends with my favorite player of all time sending me home on a last-second bucket. That's tough. So that real result could bring a tear to my eye if Dame comes back and does that for us. But for this video, the desired outcome has not been met. We get sent home in the Western Conference Finals. So after losing in the Western Conference Finals, the Portland Trailblazers have won the NBA championship. So I guess Scoot also wins Finals MVP. I guess losing to the eventual NBA champion isn't all that bad. But looking back on that season, Jokic had a great season. Jamal Murray, 22, 4, and 6. 53, 44% from three. Peyton Watson had the exact season that we needed him to. Given that big old contract, he averaged 25 and 1.5 assists, 2.5 stocks a night. And then on top of that, 52% from the floor, 37% from three. Yaxel had an inefficient season, but defensively was really good, almost 1.5 stocks a game. And then Christian Braun, 9 points a game, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, almost a steal and a half a block a game. And then the 53% from the floor and 39% from three. That's the exact output that we're expecting from Christian Braun. It's a good bounce back year for him. Again, not sure he'll ever reach that 4-year, $125 million contract in value, but I'm happy we didn't sell and have to give up a pick to get rid of him. I do think that the Denver Nuggets find themselves in a pretty tough spot this offseason. I think that championship window will always be cracked open, even if just a little bit, as long as Nikola Jokic is on the roster. But the West is so tough, and then we even saw good competition out of the East with the New York Knicks this year. So this offseason is pivotal, and it's such a narrow path to success for them. We really relied on contributions from rookies, vet minimums, our taxpayer mid-level exception, and then especially growth from the players that are young and already on our roster, like Peyton Watson. Now, I don't know that these are the exact players and moves that the Nuggets are going to make. They could always go the route of moving Jamal Murray or Christian Braun instead of Cam Johnson and Aaron Gordon like we did in this video, but I do think we're going to see some kind of movement from them this offseason either way, to try to create some of the cap flexibility that we did in this video. We gave ourselves the option to get under the luxury tax halfway through the season if we needed to, or we gave ourselves the option to stay in the tax and try to contend like we did in this video. I think that this Denver Nuggets team has more and more of a narrow path every year that passes, so hopefully they're able to hit on some of these moves like we did in today's video. But thank you so much for watching. Take care. God bless.